My name is Hannah, and for the longest time, I believed I was living a fairy tale. At 26 years old, I was about to marry the love of my life, Lieutenant Alex Rivera, a decorated Army officer. Our military wedding was planned for the following weekend at the beautiful chapel on base in Fort Liberty, North Carolina. Alex was everything I had ever dreamed of: strong, honorable, and deeply romantic. We had met 3 years earlier when I was working as a civilian contractor on base. He proposed to me during a sunset ceremony with his entire unit cheering us on. It was perfect. Our life together felt like a dream. We had a lovely apartment near the base. Weekends were filled with hiking, cooking together, and planning our future. Alex would often tell me, "Hannah, you make every deployment worth coming home to." I believed him with all my heart. His family was incredibly welcoming, especially his retired Sergeant Major father, Sergeant Reyes. The old man was tough as nails, but had a soft spot for me. He called me daughter from the very first time we met. He was helping plan the entire wedding, making sure everything was perfect for his boy's big day. I had never felt more loved, more secure, or more excited about the future. I was marrying a good man, gaining a supportive family, and starting the life I had always wanted. Everything was falling into place beautifully. I had no idea that just days before our military wedding, my world was going to be turned upside down in the most unexpected way. The week before the wedding, little things started to feel off. Alex seemed more stressed than usual. He was constantly on his phone, stepping outside to take calls. When I asked him about it, he'd smile and say it was just last-minute work stuff for the unit. I wanted to believe him, but something in his eyes made me uneasy. Sergeant Reyes, Alex's father, was acting strange too. He kept pulling Alex aside for private conversations. One evening, I walked into the kitchen, and they both went quiet. Sergeant Reyes gave me a tight smile and said, "Just wedding talk, sweetheart. Nothing for you to worry about." Then came the night that really planted the seed of doubt. I was trying on my wedding dress for final alterations when Sergeant Reyes suddenly appeared at the bridal shop. He looked tense. He pulled me aside and whispered, "Hannah, I need you to trust me. Something's not right. I need you to come with me for a moment." Before I could ask questions, he gently but firmly guided me into a large fitting room at the back of the store and told me to stay quiet. He closed the curtain and walked away. I stood there in my wedding dress, heart pounding, wondering what on earth was happening. I could hear muffled voices outside Alex's voice and a woman's voice I didn't recognize. I pressed my ear closer to the curtain, my stomach twisting with anxiety. What was Sergeant Reyes trying to protect me from, and why did I suddenly feel like my perfect wedding was about to crumble? I stood frozen in that fitting room, still wearing my wedding dress, as the voices outside became clearer. I heard Alex laughing, that familiar warm laugh I loved. Then a woman's voice, soft and intimate. "I can't believe we're finally doing this," she said, "after all these years of hiding." My heart stopped. Alex replied, "I know, baby. Just a few more days. Once the wedding is over and I get the benefits, we can be together for real. Hannah will never suspect a thing." The woman laughed softly. "You're really going to marry her just for the housing allowance and health insurance?" "Yeah," Alex said casually. "She's sweet, but you're the one I love. This is just practical." I felt like I was going to be sick. My knees buckled, and I had to hold on to the wall to stay upright. Sergeant Reyes had known. That's why he hid me there to show me the truth before I married his son. I heard them kissing. The sound shattered what was left of my heart. The man I loved, the man I trusted with my entire future, had been cheating on me for years. He was only marrying me for military benefits. Tears streamed down my face as I stood there in my wedding dress, the dress I had picked out, thinking it was the beginning of forever. When Sergeant Reyes finally opened the curtain, he saw me broken. He simply whispered, "I'm sorry, Hannah. I couldn't let you walk into this blind." In that moment, everything I thought I knew about love and trust was destroyed. My perfect life had been a complete lie. The next 48 hours were a complete blur of pain. I left the bridal shop in a daze. Sergeant Reyes drove me home and stayed with me as I cried for hours. He told me he had suspected something for months, but only got solid proof recently. He apologized for not telling me sooner, but he wanted me to see it with my own eyes. I called off the wedding immediately. The humiliation of telling our friends and family was unbearable. Some people believed me, but others, especially on Alex's side, thought I was overreacting or making it up. Alex tried to contact me. He sent messages saying it wasn't what it sounded like, that he loved me, that we could still make it work. I blocked him everywhere. I felt completely worthless. The man I loved had been using me. He never really wanted me, just the benefits that came with marrying me. Every sweet word, every promise, every "I love you" was a calculated lie. I barely ate. I couldn't sleep. I would wake up in the middle of the night reaching for him, only to remember the truth. The pain was so deep I wondered if I would ever feel normal again. I questioned everything about myself. Was I not good enough? Was I too naive? How did I miss all the signs? I had lost my fiancé, my future plans, and my self-worth all in the span of one devastating afternoon. But even in that darkness, a small voice inside me, the voice of the woman who had built a life on her own before Alex started to whisper, "You survived this. Now you have to rise." Sergeant Reyes refused to let me face this alone. A few days after the incident, he came to my apartment with a thick folder. "Hannah, there's more you need to know," he said gravely. What he showed me was worse than I could have imagined. Alex had been cheating with that woman, a civilian contractor named Vanessa, for over 2 years. They had been planning their future together while he was engaged to me. Even more devastating, Alex had been using my name and credit to take out loans and make purchases for their secret life. He had also been siphoning money from our joint wedding account. But the biggest twist came from Sergeant Reyes himself. He admitted that he had warned Alex multiple times to end the affair. When Alex refused, the sergeant made the decision to expose him, even if it meant destroying his son's wedding. He told me, "Blood doesn't mean I'll stand by and watch him destroy a good woman." For the first time, I understood why he hid me in that fitting room. It wasn't just to show me the cheating. It was to protect me from marrying a man who saw me as nothing more than a convenience. The betrayal ran so much deeper than I thought. Alex hadn't just cheated on me, he had been actively using and deceiving me while planning a life with someone else. In that moment, my heartbreak began turning into something else. Anger. And a burning desire for justice. With Sergeant Reyes by my side, I decided I wasn't going to be the victim anymore. We spent the next few weeks building a strong case. I gathered all the financial records, messages, and evidence of Alex's deception. Sergeant Reyes used his connections to get statements from people who had seen Alex and Vanessa together. I also documented everything, every lie, every financial betrayal, every promise he broke. This wasn't going to be emotional revenge. It was going to be smart and strategic. I hired a sharp family lawyer and filed for an annulment instead of a divorce. We built a case around fraud and emotional manipulation. I also reported the financial fraud to the proper military channels, knowing it could affect Alex's career. While preparing, I focused on myself. I started therapy, leaned on my real friends, and began rebuilding my confidence. I even started training again, running in the mornings like I used to before I met Alex. Every time I felt weak, I remembered standing in that fitting room in my wedding dress, hearing the man I loved planning his life with another woman. That memory became my fuel. Sergeant Reyes became like a father to me. He said, "You're not just fighting for yourself, Hannah. You're fighting for every person he's ever hurt." The plan was clear: expose the truth, protect myself financially and emotionally, and make sure Alex faced real consequences for what he did. He thought he could use me and walk away. He was wrong. The annulment hearing was scheduled 3 weeks later. Alex walked into the courtroom looking cocky, still convinced he could charm his way out of everything. When he saw me sitting with Sergeant Reyes, his expression faltered for just a second. His lawyer presented their case, first painting me as an emotional, unstable woman who was overreacting to normal pre-wedding stress. Then it was our turn. My lawyer systematically laid out the evidence, the financial records, the messages, the witness statements. And finally, Sergeant Reyes took the stand. The retired sergeant looked his own son in the eyes and said, "I raised you better than this. You used this woman. You lied to her. You broke her heart for your own convenience. I couldn't let you go through with it." Alex's face went pale. For the first time, he looked truly scared. When I took the stand, I spoke clearly and calmly. I looked at Alex and said, "You hid me in that fitting room because even your own father knew you were about to destroy me. I deserved better than to be your backup plan." The judge was visibly disturbed by the evidence. He granted the annulment immediately, ordered Alex to return all the money he had taken, and recommended an investigation into his conduct by the military. As we left the courtroom, Alex tried to approach me. Sergeant Reyes stepped between us. "It's over, son," he said firmly. I walked away with my head high, feeling the weight of betrayal finally lifting from my shoulders. The months after the hearing brought a quiet but powerful transformation. The annulment was finalized. Alex was forced to return every penny he had taken from me and faced disciplinary action from the military. Sergeant Reyes stood by me through it all, eventually becoming the father figure I never had. I moved to a new city for a fresh start. I took a promotion at work and started volunteering with military spouses who had gone through difficult divorces. Helping others heal became part of my own healing journey. I learned to love myself again. I started running, reading, and traveling, things I had put on hold during my relationship with Alex. For the first time in years, I felt free. Sergeant Reyes still calls me every month. He says I'm the daughter he always wished he had. Our bond is stronger than the one he has with his own son now. I'm not in a rush to date again, but I know when the right person comes, I'll be ready, because I finally know my worth. Looking back, I realized the retired sergeant didn't just save me from a bad marriage that day in the fitting room. He saved me from a lifetime of lies. The greatest betrayal wasn't just Alex's cheating, it was his willingness to marry me while loving someone else. But the greatest gift was learning that real love doesn't use you. Real love doesn't hide you. If you're going through betrayal right now, remember this. Sometimes the person you think is your greatest love turns out to be your greatest lesson. And sometimes the family you choose, or the family that chooses you, becomes stronger than the one you were supposed to marry into. I almost married a lie. Instead, I found my truth. And I've never been more grateful.